Welcome to our daily YouTube session. Today we will discuss the issue of Tipu Sultan. The controversy around him is again back in news. So as our prelims is approaching, you may be asked a question about administration, about some of his innovations, about some of the wars that he have fought, and it is also a probable topic for mains also if something is asked with respect to the contributions of Tipu Sultan, with respect to Indian economy, with respect to strategic, with respect to military. So in this topic we will discuss all the life associated events with him. So first of all, if we talk about Tipu Sultan, so we all know that he was a ruler of Kingdom of Mysore. He was born in basically Devnahali, which is present day Bangalore, Karnataka, and he succeeded his father, whose name was, everybody also knows about him, that is Hyder Ali, who was also a ruler of Mysore. Okay, so we know that Tipu Sultan, he was a man of very much imagination and courage, a brilliant strategist who in his short reign of 17 years presented some serious challenges to his enemies, and some of his enemies included Britishers, Marathas, as well as the Nizam of Hyderabad. So these were his major enemies, and he presented them serious challenges, and to defeat his enemies he also did some administrative innovations, some brilliant strategies that he adopted that we will discuss. And everybody knows that he fought 4 Anglo Mysore wars and deployed even rockets, okay, in his fight against the Britishers. So first of all, let's discuss the contributions of Tipu Sultan. If we talk about contributions, so we will discuss this topic as from both mains plus prelims perspective. If something is asked with respect to his contributions in the mains examination, so you have a basically model that is ready. You can go for that, what are his contributions to economic life, then to political, then to strategic, then to infrastructure development and all that, and from this you can also take out points that can be helpful for your prelims examination. So first of all, as we already said that he was a man of imagination and innovation, he established in those days basically banking networks and cooperatives. Okay, cooperatives are very much important and a very much important field in our society in the post-independence era, and how much it has been emphasized by our government, everybody knows about it. So he established banking networks and cooperatives where capital was raised from the public and principal held on an annual basis was returned with interest that was called as nafa. So in those days, basically developing something like this where money was taken from the public and profit was basically, or some sort of interest was given back to them, so that was some very major innovation. Then he also established trading houses for Mysore, whose products were basically sold worldwide in places like Puducherry, Kutch, Karachi, Oman, even Bagtan, and even in the Constantinople. And further, what is basically of very much significance here is that he preferred cashless transactions, okay, basically for 2 reasons. One was to create a market for Mysorean goods and the workmen abroad, and another was basically to reduce the drain of wealth which was basically happening with the Europeans trading here, or especially because of the Britishers. And then some major innovations or administrative decisions that he took was like he stopped the export of sandwood, pepper, cardamom through the ports of his kingdom and disallowed local merchants from trading with the company. Further, he also eliminated middlemen in the collection of land revenue. So if we look at his basically economic contributions, we can see that he tried to improve the agriculture. Just give me a second. If we talk about his contributions in a nutshell, we can say that he tried to improve the agriculture by eliminating middlemen. He tried to improve the industrial mechanisms through what we have already discussed, that is banking networks, establishing cooperatives by reducing drain of wealth. Some of the major contributions to the economic life if we look at it from the Indian perspective. Further, moving forward, similarly, if we look at his political contributions, see, in the post independence era, we adopted democratic socialism, okay, where we stated that major PSUs should be retained by the government and other areas can be operated by the private sector. But being a visionary, Tipu Sultan himself did this innovation where he believed that PSUs or certain key industries were to be monopolized by the state, and this included sugar, salt, iron, tobacco, sandalwood, gold, silver and some precious stone basically, which were giving major revenue to government at that point of time. Similarly, he was also the individual who believed in freedom, liberty, and that is why he was also associated with the French to counter the British, and he also joined what is called as Jacobean Club. Everybody basically would have learned about this in their world history classes. You can also do what is task for your home is you have to find who is the founder of this group, Jacobean Club, popular political group of the French Revolution that identified with egalitarianism and violence. Basically, he believed in freedom and liberty, and he also wanted, it is said that he wanted to create a republic in Sringapatnam on similar lines. So if we talk about his political ideas, we can say that he believed in some sort of democratic socialism, okay, believed in freedom and liberty. That is why he became a member of the Jacobean Club also, and wanted to protect the freedom of his citizens or his subjects. That is why he was very much against the rule of the Britishers. Next, if we talk about his contributions to art, culture and literatures, if we see his library, it was apparently filled with translations of the world literature and used to make handwritten observations of the foreign countries, okay. Then he encouraged the Persians to come down to India to teach art of making wooden toys, now famous as basically Chanpatna toys, very much important for your prelims examination, okay. A specific match the following type question can be asked, that Chanpatna toys are there, basically they belong to Karnataka, they belong to Kerala, or they belong to Andhra Pradesh. Then he also got the experts from across the world to further the silk cottage industry that Mysore became famous for. So his contributions to art, culture and literature can also not be ignored. If we talk about basically this wooden toy industry is there, then if we talk about silk industry is there, or patronizing the basically artisans, that was also the contribution. Moving forward, now talking about his strategic contribution, see, everybody know that he established a close relationship with the French in India and modernized his army with their help. Further, his hubs took advantage of India's long tradition of producing and handling metals like iron and steel, and that is why he is associated with making of the modern rockets or the predecessors of the modern rockets, which were much better than firecracker like missiles that were used by the Chinese, okay. Major contribution here is basically to the rocketry. Then he also created iron tubes filled with gunpowders, hoisted them on flags or bamboo poles for better accuracy and range. For his strategic vision, it can be said that if we talk about his military contributions, one of the major contribution is to the field of rocketry, where he used the rockets basically against the fight in Britishers, and some of them are also displayed in museums in London. Further, moving forward, if we talk about his contribution to infrastructure and development, he laid the foundations for the construction of Krishan Sagar Dam in Mandya. His industrial belt spread across the Mysore Strait from Bengaluru to Sringapatna so that the locals everywhere find employment, and if Britishers attacked one centers, basically he still has some another centers. And here I would also like to associate that he also created some dockyards also, because he understood the importance of basically navy. That is why basically some sort of dockyards were also what we say built by him. Here major contribution is to the basically that is called as Krishan Raj Sagar Dam in Mandya. Then basically where from his state basically expanded from Bengaluru to Sringapatnam for employment and for strategic vision, so that he has multiple centers from where he can operate. Similarly, moving forward, we also need to look at the major wars that he has fought, that is Anglo Mysore Wars, from where the question can come with respect to your prelims examination. First of all, let's talk about first Anglo Mysore War. So it was fought between Kingdom of Mysore and British East India Company. So who were the basically participators? Obviously it is clear from that it was Mysore and second one were Britishers. But we need to know that from the Mysore side it was led by Hyder Ali, that is the father of basically Tipu Sultan, not Tipu Sultan himself, and it basically continued from 1767 to 1769 and ended with the Treaty of Madras. Basically the war was inconclusive at the end. What you have to learn here is basically who was the leading man from the Mysore and what was the basically treaty that was concluded at the end. Similarly, if we talk about another one, he also fought second Anglo Mysore War. Here also Hyder Ali, basically what the war is famous for, he formed an alliance with the Nizam and the Marathas and did beat Britishers forces in Arcot. So what you have to know here is basically of the alliance of Hyder Ali with Marathas and the Nizam. Two things that you need to know about. Then Hyder Ali died midway while fighting the war, and his son Tipu Sultan basically took over and he fought an English basically whose name was Ayar Kut, okay, who had already fought at Hyder Ali on a numerous times and basically continued the war. The war basically ended with the Treaty of Mangalore. What is the name of treaty? That is Treaty of Mangalore. Okay, and both the sides negotiated peace after inconclusive war, and both the parties returned to the areas basically they had acquired from each other. So what you need to learn about here is basically what the second Anglo Mysore War is famous for. First of all, it was fought between who were the parties, Britishers, and the other side was the Hyder Ali and then Marathas and the Nizams. And second thing you need to know is basically Hyder Ali fought midway while fighting the war. Then Tipu Sultan took over. Who did he fought? What was the name of English officer? That is Sir Ayar Kut. And what was the name of the treaty that happened at the end? That was the basically Treaty of Mangalore. Then coming forward, then you have basically third one, that is the third Anglo Mysore War. Here you need to know is Tipu launched a war on Travancore. Basically it was a British friendly state, and here you need to know the name, that is Lord Cornwallis, that is the Governor General of Bengal, declared war on Tipu Sultan in 1790, and his men, basically Tipu's men, were forced to retire. Then English marched on Tipu's capital of Sringapatnam, forcing Tipu to make a deal. The name of the treaty that happened at the end was the Treaty of Sringapatnam. Basically what happened here was Tipu had to hand over half of his empire to the English, including the province of Malabar, Dindigul, Coorg and Baramal, and he had to pay the Britishers rupees 3 crore in war indemnity, and 2 of his sons were also held as the guarantee basically until he fulfills his debt. So very important war. What you need to know is the parties, obviously Anglo Mysore, Britishers and the Kingdom of Mysore. From the Britishers side, who was fighting the war, it was Lord Cornwallis. From here basically, sorry, Tipu Sultan was himself leading a war. Okay, then second thing you need to know is Tipu Sultan was beaten in this basically. Okay, he was defeated in this battle, and because of that he had to hand over half of his kingdom to the Britishers. He had to pay 3 crore rupees war indemnity, and at the end his 2 of the sons were also held as basically hostage until and unless he fulfilled this debt. And what was the name of the treaty under which these conditions were put in? It was Treaty of Sringapatnam. Moving forward, then you have the last one, that is 4th Anglo Mysore War. And here what you need to know is basically, here from the Anglo side it was Britishers plus Nizam and the Marathas. Okay, and so that is why Tipu's army was outnumbered 4-1. British won a decisive war in the Battle of Sringapatnam. Okay, he perished in the process of protecting his city. The Britishers basically they were, and the Nizam were in charge of his possessions, and after he was defeated and killed in this battle, the Vodya dynasty was handed over the basically majority of the Mysore, and Britishers made a subsidiary alliance with Mysore, and British resident was appointed to the Mysore court. What you need to know here is basically, or this is your homework. First of all, you need to basically find out what is subsidiary alliance, it was introduced by whom, and which was the first state basically which came under this subsidiary alliance. So what you need to remember in the 4th Anglo Mysore War, that British Nizams and Marathas were on one side and Tipu Sultan was on another side. The Battle of Sringapatnam happened, where he was defeated and killed, and his kingdom was handed over to the Vodya dynasty. Okay, so we have and in the end 4 Anglo Mysore Wars, and in 4 Anglo Mysore Wars you need to know basically who were the opponents. Okay, the basically, for example, in the 4th Anglo Mysore War, Britishers, Nizam and Marathas are the opponents of Tipu Sultan, whereas in the 2nd Anglo Mysore War, basically the Britishers are on one side, Hyder Ali, and then Hyder Ali, then Nizams and Marathas are on the other side. So you need to remember basically who is fighting on whose side. Okay, second one, who is leading them, and third one basically what is the conclusive end, what was that kind of treaty that was signed and what were their provisions. So at the end we will also discuss the question with respect to prelims examination. Here you have to choose the correct one. First Anglo Mysore War, it is written that it ended with the Treaty of Madras. Second Anglo Mysore ended with the Treaty of Sringapatnam, and third Anglo Mysore War basically ended with the Treaty of Mangalore. So what are the options that are given to you is that only one of them is correct, only 2 of them are correct, all 3 are correct, or none of them is correct. So if you have basically seen our slides, you will come to know that first Anglo Mysore, it is correctly matched with the Treaty of Madras, it is right. But second Anglo Mysore War, it ended with the Treaty of Mangalore, whereas third Anglo Mysore War ended with the Treaty of Sringapatnam. So what you need to remember here is basically again the name of the treaties, and some other type of question can also be asked. For example, that in 4th Anglo Mysore War, basically who was on the British side? They were Britishers, Nizams and Marathas, for example, we have already discussed. And in which war basically Nizams and Marathas, they fought on the side of Hyder Ali? That kind of question. In basically which war Lord Cornwallis was leading the war? Okay, that you need to know. Sir Ayercoot was basically leading the war in which 1st, 2nd, 3rd or 4th Anglo Mysore War. So these kind of some facts you need to remember, and you need to basically go through the slides, what was his contributions, economic contribution, political, strategic, infrastructure and development, so that if some question is asked in your mains examination, you are well prepared for that. So this is all from my side. Thank you.